it's one thing to learn discipline when you're 5 and 6, and start developing that. It's another thing to learn that at 18, which is kind of my case in some ways, right?
Mhm.
Where having a regular schedule, do these things that didn't involve academic learning, sets you up for life. And I think that is an exponentially beneficial thing to learn when you're younger, because it sets up the rest of your essentially way of living, you could say.
Okay, so Melanie, question for you. When you guys were first thinking about homeschooling or starting homeschooling, was your husband excited about it? Was he on board or was he reluctant? How was that?
I think that he was trusting in me.
Mm,
Um, and of course, want to feel like, well, he trusted God, and he did. But I think that at that point in time, he was like, this is what my wife is telling me, and I believe in what she's saying. And then over the years, of course, he was like, oh, yeah, I am so glad we did this. And I'll say, going to Thrive for him was huge. It really made him believe 100,000%. If I hadn't already proven it to him by the time he went to his first Thrive conference, he was definitely like, yes, I'm all in. And it's nice to hear him now defend homeschooling and talk about being excited that we have homeschooled. But in the beginning, he was kind of like, I just trust you with this. I just trust you with this.
yes,
And now he's
I
really
love that.
involved. So,
Yeah,
we teach my niece and nephews, and he's the math teacher when we run into struggles. And
I think it's so neat to see the different perspectives, the different journeys, that some of these dads go on in particular, because that's what we're talking about today a little bit. But, I've talked about my own husband's journey on this show before, but he started out being totally anti homeschooling. Like he just could not see how that was going to work. And, for him, Thrive was also just a complete turning point. Coming to Thrive and seeing all the different families, all the different dads that were there and feeling like, oh, you know, look at this. This is working. Look at these families, it really was just pivotal for him in particular and for our whole family. But I thought that was a great way to lead into what we're talking about today. But first off, everybody, welcome. This is the Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education. I'm Amanda Wares, your host. And with me, as always, is our co host, Melanie Willis. Hey, Melanie.
Hey there.
What do we have for today?
So today we are going to listen as Matthew McDill sits down with Juan Guadalupe, one of our dad's team members, and just talks about his homeschool journey, which is, I love how real he is. It's really nice to hear a dad just really talk through all of the different things, the struggles and the things that are great. And I think it's going to be great to hear what he has to say. Then we're going to have some art again. And I really like what we're going to talk about today. And then, of course, we'll have just a little bit of news afterwards.
Awesome. I cannot wait. All right. Well, let's listen to that interview.
All right, I'm here with Juan Guadalupe, who is one of our dad's team members. We have a team of people who are working right now to try to especially reach and minister to homeschool dads. This is a special group of people. We're working hard. We're trying to do our best to honor the Lord, to serve our family, to help this educational process. Juan, how about you just tell us a little bit about your family, your kids, and how long you've been homeschooling?
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to share with NCHE dads. And yeah, my wife, Alicia Guadalupe, and we've been married. This will be our 16th year. We have our oldest is 13, about to be 14. And then we have 11-year-old, just about to be 12, a daughter that just turned 10, and then our youngest just turned 8. and we've been homeschooling since day one. Um, yeah, so um, I really I like to share that story. It's not probably a very conventional um, homes. So when my wife and I after we got married, we'd had this conversation a few times about homeschooling, her staying at home. At the same time, we're having a conversation about me starting a business. And so this is back in 2010, and I'm working at a bank at this point. She's a full-time teacher with the Cumberland County school system, and we had just purchased a house not too long ago. And we're having these conversations, and I start planning for doing the business out of my house. So I'm a coffee roaster, and I started coffee roasting out of my house in 2011. And she was teaching full time, and um, we were just kind of going along, and then she gets pregnant. Um, Baby's due. This is now 2012, September 2012, and these conversations about homeschooling, her staying at home, became really real. You know, like we have to make a choice here soon because after her maternity leave is done, like she's either going to go back to school or she's staying at home. At this point, I've been in business for about 1 year, so I'm not making any money. I'm broke as a joke, and we're deciding whether she's going to quit her job.
Mm.
And so we really believe that the Lord wanted us to do that though too, for her to stay at home. And we also believe that the Lord wanted me to start this business. And so that's what we decided to do. I went out, I worked a lot. I had side gigs alongside my coffee roasting business, and she stayed at home and nurtured our son. And that started a journey. I think a really a journey of faith. Really, at the end of the day,
Mm.
I honestly I kind of look at it like Abraham in a way. I'm nowhere near. I'm not calling myself Abraham, but um, in that when God calls Abraham right to leave his homeland to go to a place that he had no idea where he was going, right? He picked up his entire family and went. He had to trust that God was going to lead him in the right direction and he was going to provide everything that he needed along the way. And for us, it was kind of like that. It's been a journey, and I can't share the amount of times that God has sustained us physically and naturally with financially. And we had once our air conditioning went off and it broke, and I called the technician. You know, I don't have any money to replace this thing, and the AC repair guy essentially said, you know, it looked like lightning struck this thing. Now this is by the way, this is like a 20-year-old unit. Okay, so it was gonna need to get replaced sometime soon. And he was like, yeah, there's like not a lot of things that could have made this a proper insurance claim, but that lightning would strike it. And so we were able to claim that, you know, in our insurance and got a $10,000 AC unit replaced when we had absolutely no money and it was like the middle of the summer. And so there's things like that where things happen beyond our control and God provided and allowed us to sustain this lifestyle that has both lifted up and built our faith in Him, and at the same time has allowed us to be faithful in these areas that He has given
Mm.
us, these responsibilities, both nurturing and raising our children, and then for me, um, growing a business.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it, especially. I mean, we can make lots of decisions like this, but the stories where we know we're following the Lord and He's been faithful to provide and lead, those are the best stories because it's about a lot more than homeschooling, and God
Uh-huh.
gets the glory. So what caused you guys to think about or choose homeschooling in the first place? What are like some of the reasons?
Well, we're both products of the public school system. Now, I was raised in a Christian household. She wasn't, but we both, I mean, her being a teacher by trade had some, you know, heard about homeschooling. I'd heard about it also, but never really considered it. it wasn't until, I mean, just really the realization of seeing where things were going, like from a cultural perspective, and then just seeing that the education system was not that great. I mean, my personal experience was not amazing. Not because, I mean, it's probably a very typical experience, but when I realized, okay, what did I actually learn? And really, what do I want from my children now that I'm considering having children? And what do I want them to learn and develop as they grow older? It became really apparent to me that what I learned and the habits and the worldviews that I developed through a public education system, I didn't want them to be exposed to those things, um, especially at an age where they're so impressionable. Because I had to do a lot of, quote unquote, deconstructing from a worldly mindset to a mindset of, trusting God
Mm.
with with everything. And honestly, a lot of this was also just reading Bible regularly. When I read scripture, to me, it lets me know what God's desire is for his people. And this is one of the most apparent things in the Old Testament specifically, is that God's desire for his people was that they, one, would obey him and trust him and love him, and two, that they would teach their children to do likewise.
Hmm.
And so there's no way that I could justify doing that in an environment where I would be gone all day. They would be gone all day. My wife would be gone all day. We'd get home and barely have enough time to feed ourselves and reset in order to do it again the next day. So like having those kind of like aha moments were really what encouraged me to start heading in this direction of, okay, what does homeschooling look like? What could it look like? And how would this fit within our vision for our family?
Yeah, that's great. And as a dad who's now pretty experienced with homeschooling, what are some of the main challenges that you faced or you see other dads faced? And maybe just share something that you've learned over the years with the dads out there.
Yeah, so I think that one of the main challenges that I've seen and I think we faced early on is that, at least in my opinion, homeschooling is a lifestyle. It's not school at home. And
Mhm.
I think there's a key distinction, right? Because when you're thinking about school at home, you're primarily asking academic questions, curriculum, English, math, all these things that you have to do that you feel ill-equipped to do because you weren't trained or anything like that, as opposed to a lifestyle, which is saying, okay, what do I need to teach my children, right, in order that they can live the type of lifestyle that I want them to live? Obviously, they're gonna have to learn English, math, some basic things. But then other than that, what else do they need to learn? Well, I want them to love the Lord and trust the Lord. So I'm going to be teaching them God's word, right? I want them to be respectful to adults. So I'm going to teach them what interacting with older adults look like. I want them to participate in the life of the church. So I'm going to bring them and help them, be around the church. There's all these other things that I want them to learn that they learn and they have learned now because it's a part of our lifestyle, not because we, introduce a curriculum that help them learn those things. And that has been something that has been, that kind of mindset has been something that's been further confirmed. And I feel like a further level of confidence in that when it comes to homeschooling and just kind of scheduling our lives around certain goals rather than academic like expectations in
Mhm.
some way, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
this is
great.
really important also because children are different, right?
Mm.
And so some children have a better capacity of understanding math, for example, right?
Yeah.
And some have a better capacity for understanding words. And it may be, and if you set the same expectation for all of them, right? Um, Especially academically, you might struggle with that. But if you're able to say, okay, like, what is it that I'm doing with you right now? And how do these skills fit within this context, then I can take my time, for example, right? And say, okay, let's just take our time and work through these things, recognizing that you'll eventually learn how to act. You'll eventually learn how to read. But there's really a short time frame, I believe, of learning discipline in a way that's gonna affect the rest of your life, right? It's one thing to learn discipline when you're 5 and 6, and start developing that. Is another thing to learn that at 18, which is kind of my case in some ways, right?
Mm.
Where, having a regular schedule, do these things that didn't involve academic learning sets you up for life. And I think that is an exponentially beneficial thing to learn when you're younger
Mhm.
because it sets up the rest of your essentially way of living, you could say.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I really appreciate the fact, Juan, that you get the philosophy, the strategy, the vision for homeschooling as a dad. Sometimes it seems like the mom has that and the dad is kind of struggling along to try to figure out, wait, what are we doing here? Why is this important? And so that's one of the things we want to do is equip dads to be fully involved, to know how to lead their home, their family, to get the vision for discipleship, for living it as a lifestyle, for understanding the purpose of education. And so I love the way you articulated that. And so, that's one of the reasons why we're trying to especially reach out to dads and why Juan and I are here on the show to try to tell you about the Dads Gathering, for example, among other things that we're trying to do. And so the Thrive Homeschool Conference is coming up in Winston-Salem, May 21, 22, and 23. And on Saturday morning, the last day, there are a bunch of different special gatherings, and one of them is the Dad's Gathering, and that's the one, of course, that you want to be at. And so we're going to have a bit of time together. We want all the dads to come out there. And one little incentive, if you needed another one to maybe get you there, is Juan is going to bring a sample from his coffee shop. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm a coffee roaster, and I've been roasting coffee since 2011. I'm blessed to now have a coffee shop for 12 years. So I opened it in 2014, Fort Mills, North Carolina. Named is Cumberland Coffee Roasters. And I'm going to be roasting some coffee and bringing some sample size bags for all the dads that show up to the Dads Gathering. So
Nice.
whether you're a dad that likes coffee, or if you don't mind me interjecting this, whether you're a mom that likes coffee, send your husband to
Yeah.
the Dad's Gathering because you win either way.
Yeah, that's right. And hopefully he will come back, not just with coffee, but with a
Right,
vision,
right.
with inspiration, with energy. And we're going to have some great tools there at the conference for dads. Like we're going to gather up all the workshops that would really be helpful for dads so that you'll know exactly where to go. Anyway, so just take this. This is our invitation today to come to the Dads Gathering, to come to the conference. If you, dad or mom, if you're listening, if you're not signed up for the conference, you can register. Registration is open right now to get to the conference and make sure your dads get to that dad's meeting. And we just want you to know we're here to equip you and support you. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody there. Juan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. See you later.
I love hearing from dads. It is so great.
Well, and I'm willing to bet that you and I both kind of keyed in on one key thing that he said. And I'm going to tell you, then you tell me. He said, homeschooling is a lifestyle.
Uh-huh.
And how often do we talk here about that mindset and the learning all the time? And he was so well spoken in what he had to say. And I love how open he was with his struggles and the discussion that he had about how both he and his wife, coming from that public school system, thought, and then it changing over into this lifestyle of homeschooling. I really enjoyed that.
I did too. I loved it. I could really relate because, my husband has his own business as well. And having a new business and starting homeschooling at the same time, can be a real challenge. I could relate to that so well. I remembered, took me back to those early years, but I love the same thing. It's so powerful, when the dads really get a hold of that vision for homeschooling and for just the lifestyle that they want to pass on to their kids. And it's just neat. And I hope that all you families, all you dads out there, take seriously that invitation to come to the dads gathering on Saturday morning of Thrive, May 23rd. It is going to be really great. Goodness, I'm a little jealous about the coffee samples. I might have to send my husband in there and get some of that.
I need some coffee.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's awesome. Okay. So art today is going to be a little bit different. We're not actually going to create any art, but we're going to create something that can help you create art. Is that right? So how many times do you go to do something artistic? You see something online and you're like, we should do that. And then you don't have all your supplies. So
Yes.
I am going to show you how to make paint. Okay. And I'm going to show you to start with. I made a couple here and I put them in these little containers so you could see. Here's some red paint that I made. And this is great if you make it in a little bit of bulk. And you can buy those empty condiment containers like for ketchup and stuff. These store great in there. And then you can just pop the little lid and squirt some out. Here is green. And
Neat.
then I have a blue. Okay.
Wow.
So all I did, real simple, and I have it right here, handy dandy measuring cup, equal amounts of flour and salt and water. That's it. Okay. So I only made a small amount today. So I had a half a cup of flour, all purpose flour, half a cup of salt, and a half a cup of water. You mix it up and make your paste. And then I divided it amongst the different containers to make your color. So once you get however much made, you can go ahead and fill up that ketchup container or whatever container you want to put it in and make your different colors. And what I really like about this is it's a great opportunity to teach about color blending, mixing that red and blue and make some purple and this was even great for me. I've done different color mixing before, but I found like the first time I did it, I made this beautiful mauve. I loved it. It was gorgeous, but it wasn't quite purple. And so then I had to really question, well, what do I need to do to make it more purpley? But this
Yeah.
is just so easy and you can color it with all kinds of stuff. Today I am using just your handy dandy found in the kitchen food coloring, okay? Which means this is great if you have a preschooler that might put it in their mouth because it is all natural. So
Yeah.
I am going to put about 4 drops in here. And for your different sizes, you're just going to have to figure out what works best. I would say always start small because you can add more, but you can't take it away.
That's very true.
And I'm just using a toothpick right now. If you're doing a large amount, an immersion blender works fantastic. But I'm just going to stir this up with a little toothpick. And as you see, we've got some yellow happening. Really nice and easy, non-toxic. You can also, if you're artful and have stuff around the house, you can use different minerals, different spices and seasonings. You can crush some blueberries. There's all kinds of things that you can do to get your color in there. I do find it, according to what you're using, might get a little bit more vibrant over time, but when it dries, it kind of, I want to say maybe a little chalky kind of looking. So according to what you're using, not necessarily as bright as it first is. So that is art for today. How to create something to
Love
make your
that.
craft with when you don't have it.
And even just the process of making it would be really
Yes.
fun to get your kids involved with that.
by the time they're done making the paint, they might be ready for just a lunch break, right?
Exactly. That's so neat. Wow. I love it.
So, Amanda, we
Yes.
are coming up pretty quickly, another month and a half. We will be at the Thrive Homeschool Conference. And so for news today, I really would like you to talk just a couple of minutes about the college and trades fair that's going to be at the conference this year.
Yes, of course. Everything about Thrive makes me excited, but having a now 17-year-old, the College and Trades Fair is something we are super interested in as we're approaching kind of the end of his high school journey. So we have had at Thrive for many years a college fair, and the last few years we've also had a trades fair separate. This year, we are combining them, the college and trades fair. They are both going to be together in one place on Friday of Thrive. We have many colleges, more than 20, and we have a number of trades represented also. We have apprenticeship program. It's just going to be a great chance for families, whether your student is four-year university bound, whether they're looking to go to a community college, whether they're looking to go straight into a trade, apprenticeship, career. There's something for everybody there. So definitely check that out. You do not have to be registered for the conference to attend that. So if you have some friends that maybe aren't able to attend the rest of the conference, but they want to come to the College and Trades Fair, bring them. That is a great, great opportunity.
It's definitely one of the things that my kids love since they've all,
Mhm.
once they were like 12, they love to go to the college fair and just, I think that it helps them to anticipate that there's life after this part at home. And I actually have two of my kids that really didn't have their plans set for the future. They were just kind of living life and went to the college fair and have since gone to one of the colleges that was represented there. So it's really a great time. And 20 colleges. Have we had that many before? That sounds like a lot.
There's more than we have had in several years. So there's more colleges and more trades. The entire room is maxed. So we kept trying to fit in as many tables as we can. But yeah, it's going to be fabulous. All kinds. We have, Christian colleges, public universities, community colleges, just really a little something for everybody. So
That's awesome.
it's a great,
That's
great
awesome.
opportunity. Yeah.
I look forward to that. So, Amanda,
Mhm.
that's it for today.
How awesome. What a great show. I hope that you guys out there, as we're getting through into spring, we're heading kind of maybe the end of your school year. If you end your school year, a lot of people just keep going, but just the anticipation leading up to Thrive, all the things, it gets me really excited and just anticipating everything that is to come. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode. We want to hear from you. So, as we always say, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, comment. Do you have, or are you yourself, or is your husband planning on going to the dad's gathering? Let us know. We want to hear from you. And as always, guys, keep homeschooling with confidence and joy. Bye bye.